This is a DMB Society podcast.
I got a sister named Jane.
And this is the pod that Jane likes.
Welcome back into episode 108 of the pod that Jane likes, your go-to podcast for all things going on in the world of our favorite rock and roll Hall of Fame band, the Dave Matthews Band. I'm Trisha, and we've been on a little break while we did some summer things with our families, including beach vacations and baseball games. We also went to see other music, and I'm mainly referring to Matt and Jeanette, who went to Grateful Dead 60 in San Francisco. They requested to do a whole podcast episode on this, but I'm actually just going to ask how it was very quickly. If you would like to tell our listeners how that weekend was.
We'll do a whole spin-off podcast on D60 because we really could. It was pretty unbelievable being there with, 60,000 people a night, 180,000. I'm sure that there were a lot of like us who had gone to all three nights, but 60,000 people each night, which really felt much smaller and intimate. It really was just such a spectacle to witness and be a part of. It felt like, it was bigger than any one person that was on that stage or in the audience. Definitely like top 5 concert experience of my life for me.
Wow.
It was awesome. It was really awesome. And, the collaborations, the guests, like everything just coming full circle and just being able to appreciate a band that had been around for 60 years. There is Bob Weir up there singing songs, he's close to 80 years old. And it was just, just being able to bring that whole thing full circle, and being in San Francisco at Golden Gate Park and the collaborations. Night 3, we got to see Trey Anastasio guitar duel with John Mayer.
Never happened before.
Scarlet Begonias and Fire on the Mountain. It was like once in a lifetime kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, I'll let Jeanette take it from here, but I want to say one last thing, which is that every time I see Dead & Company, I just want to say how much of a blessing it is to have John Mayer in an improvisational band, because he is just like on another level. I've said it before. I think he's the best guitar player of our generation, and just seeing him up there is so awesome. I hope it goes on forever and ever. And
I got to chill.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah, John's otherworldly when it comes to being in this band. I agree with everything Matt said. Being in San Francisco, where it all started for this, was quite special. And I just don't really have much else to say. Everything Matt said was great. We went to Shakedown. We did all of the things that you should do when you go see any.
Went to the Grateful Dead house. Went to Haight-Ashbury. We did all the things. Yeah.
And
awesome.
I think that even the shows itself, they were so well run. Everything about it was just perfect. So yeah.
Awesome.
We had the best time.
Well, thanks for indulging us, listeners, because they had to get it out of their system. And later in the show, I'll get it out of my system with regard to Goose when we talk about the Gorge later in the show.
Fair.
Stay tuned for that. Well, before we catch up on shows in Big Sky in California, if you like the pod that Jane likes, please rate, review, subscribe. You can find us on all over social media, TikTok, YouTube. And as always, thank you to our listeners for your support. It is absolutely amazing seeing you on the road this summer, and it's always a pleasure to say hi and to meet listeners. So we're going to dive into the opener to discuss all of the August shows that happened so far to date. But are there any other news items to report? I'll pass it to you, Matt.
Yeah, a few news items. It's been a while since we've chatted, so I think there's some things that we brought up a little bit previously, and I think they deserve a little bit more airtime. So those two things that I think we touched on briefly are the Farm Aid announcement, which is going to be coming up next month in Minnesota, where you're going to be able to see Dave and Tim, all the other Farm Aid people, but then you're also going to get to see Billy Strings and you're going to get to see Kenny Chesney, who I am really excited to see. I just think that this lineup is extremely diverse, and if you are lucky enough to have gotten tickets, I think you're going to be in for a great show. I'm assuming there's going to be a live stream, like there has been for Farm Aid the last few years, and it's always been really a good live stream. So I'm very much looking forward to sitting down and watching that. The other bit of news that I know we touched on previously, but wanted to just bring up again, is this Bella Fleck and the Flecktones Christmas tour. If you have been a fan of Bela Fleck and the Flecktones for a long time, you know that they have a Christmas album called Jingle All the Way. It's one of my favorite Christmas albums, actually. It's really it won Grammys. It's really interesting and innovative and unique in a lot of ways. Like, one of the songs on there is the 12 Days of Christmas, and for every day of Christmas, they play the verse in a different time signature and in a different key. And so, like, you get all the way to 12 Days of Christmas, they're literally like changing keys and time signatures in the way that they play like 10 ladies dancing, I don't know what it is, but anyways, it's a very cool album, and I saw them do this tour a long time ago, and I'm very excited that they're doing it again. And most, I think, important to what we're talking about is that Jeff Coffin is going to be joining the Flecktones for that tour, sort of a reunion. I think this is the first time that Jeff has officially played with them for a tour since he's been with DMB officially. So that's a huge deal, and they're playing all across the country. So that is taking place in early December, actually early to mid-December, I think. And so go check that out if you are at all interested. And then the only other thing that I think bears noting is we have some new music from Jeff himself. He put out an album with a band he put together called the Wild Iris Brass Band. Some instrumental music, which is pretty cool and unique. Jeff always is innovative like the Flecktones in his own right, and so this is a really cool offering from them. And then Tim Reynolds himself just keeps releasing new things. He announced last week there was a 1998-99 release that got remastered and released on all streaming platforms called Petroglyph. And then I think it was just today or yesterday, there's another EP that he's releasing called Freak Song, which is 7 original tracks. So if you're into Tim solo stuff, you've got an abundance of material to work with over the last couple of weeks. So go check that stuff out as well.
Awesome. Thank you for the news updates. Well, let's get into these shows in our opener. We got to talk about Big Sky and the 2 shows in California.
I have to pause for a second. Ruthie opened my door. Hold on.
I didn't really transition that really nicely. People could have commented, but
that was good.
It was nice.
It's nice.
I enjoyed it.
Very nice.
I
She
did
opened
too.
the
Good
door
job.
right when I was trying to talk about GD60. I was like, what do you want? Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
On August 1st and 2nd, we got 2 solo shows in Big Sky, Montana as part of the Wildlands Music Festival. And boy, were they fun. Not only were they fun, but they raised like $1.3 million for Montana land and water conservation. So some really good stuff happening in Montana. Sean, any thoughts on these shows to kick us off?
I think that these are, I think on the surface, before we even jump into anything about these specific shows, Dave's solo performances in general just tend to be really special, really intimate, so very different than what we get most of the other calendar year. I think most of the time you can expect somewhere in the vicinity of 5-ish Dave solo performances in a year. Some years have a little bit more, but they're very rare. And the fact that this was multiple nights of a Dave solo performance, very, very unique. So just kind of off the bat, really, really unique setting. And I was really excited for these shows, especially the fact that the first night, Friday night, gets a Friday night concert series release. And we have had a number of non-full band Friday night concert series releases before, mostly in the form of Dave and Tim shows. There has been one or two Dave ones, solo ones sprinkled in there. But Friday night, we got off and rolling with a Friday night concert series performance. And these were fun. I had so much fun taking in these shows. It's such a different dynamic than what you get, even in a Dave and Tim setting. I think it just takes the level of intimacy up a notch. And if we want to jump right into night one kind of early on, I think had that very intimate feel to it early on in the set. In the 5 slot, we get a 3+ minute version of Little Thing. This was really cool. This one was really cool.
I mean, the way I yearn for a Little Thing and the fact that it was played is just special. It sounded so good. It's just, Little Thing is just like, how does this little song like punch you in the gut and make you drop to your knees? And there's like no lyrics, but like.
So early in the set is really special too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dave just commands a stage. Our friend and pod listener Jen said out of the 100 shows she's been to in 30 years, it's some of her top. It was her top show, one of her top shows. And this is what I've heard from several people. Like, I think people really had an experience up in those mountains, surround, and just Dave commanding a stage. Of course, it wasn't just Dave. Molly Tuttle was there, Lucas Nelson, and their bands as well. And
Molly came out for quite a few songs, right?
Everyone came out.
I think that's awesome.
I think one interesting thing about both of these shows, and obviously I don't want to skip ahead to night 2 yet, but I think that this might be the future. Everybody always talks about, and you don't want to talk about it, but what happens when DMB is no more for whatever reason? It's going to happen someday. And what is the future of Dave Matthews and what does the future of his music look like? And to me, it looks kind of like these shows. You have sort of like a Dave solo, but also this could be like Dave and Friends, the new class, kind of thing. Like it's
the new class.
It's like these people that Dave is, is certainly mentoring. I mean, his relationship with Molly Tuttle. And I just think that this could really be what the future looks like, in several years, where Dave is going out on a, Dave and Friends tour. And this is, this is what you would expect, which I don't think anybody would be, obviously we would say we wish it was DMB, but I think, when you look at this, you can find a lot of really good stuff in here.
Yeah. I mean, if this is the future,
I don't think anybody's mad at this.
No, sign me up. That's fine. I don't know why when you said this is the future, I was just like imagining in my mind that if Dave went out solo, Jeff and Rashawn and Buddy would be like, I kind of miss this. Can I come play? And then it would just be the band playing again. I could see that happen.
That very well might happen.
One thing I want to point out, and I think we'll jump into some of these guest appearances because it really brings back some of that nostalgic DMB sound. When you incorporate a violin back into things. But before we get into that, one thing I actually want to draw attention to is Mad Men's Eyes on night 1. And if you haven't heard this performance yet, then this particular one is one I would recommend going to check out because it's so very different than the way that we hear Mad Men whenever it appears nowadays. In the last couple of years, we've gotten an awful lot of Mad Men Eyes, but this one, similar to the Dave solo version that he performed a few years ago on Howard Stern, was performed on a 12-string. And I just think that it adds such a beautiful dynamic to what this song already is. It adds even a little bit more of that Middle Eastern vibe that the song has in a full band setting, but here it's shrunken down into this intimate Dave solo performance. So lots to talk about. I think we'll cover some of those guest appearances, but I did want to point that one out because it is something that we see semi all the time, but here we see it in a different way. And I actually think it makes a pretty sizable difference.
You're kind of making me think like, what if he started coming out in the E1 with Mad Men's?
Just him.
That'd
I mean, is it too
awesome.
long? I mean, it'd be awesome, but do you think it's too long? 4 minutes? I don't know.
I think we can have an entire episode of what could be
songs we wish were in the E1, right? Yeah, let's put that on the list.
This specific song is awesome. Solo. on that 12 string.
100% agree.
Any other highlights you want to talk about night one?
I think Oh Sister with Molly is so special. This is something that Dave would typically do with Emmylou Harris back when he was on Dave and Friends tour. And I think Molly encapsulates this song perfectly. And we were lucky enough to hear it in Mexico a few years ago. But I'm so glad they did it again. I'm so glad they brought that back.
I love it. I love it. I remember hearing Just Breathe. I'm like, well, I'm never going to hear that again because it was like so good and so cutting. I was like, that's too deep. That's too much for me, actually. It sounds too good. That song. Well, then we head into night two and it starts off with a fight. Here we're just all
let's
having a
talk
good
about it.
time. Yeah, we're listening to Pig. Great opener.
Yep.
And then he aborts Pig because people had to go ahead and get in a fight.
We just can't have nice
piss Dave
things.
off. No. And
during Pig of all songs, too.
Right.
What a bummer.
Such a bummer.
But then Dave's saying, I don't care if you came from Timbuktu. I will not play another note with you here. I was like, damn, imagine getting yelled at by him. Oh
Like
my
yelled
God.
at. Like really yelled at.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Just
I mean, I saw a
imagine.
picture of the guy.
Just imagine being that guy and having to live with that I was the guy that Dave yelled at. Like
and
that.
got kicked out.
And got kicked
Was
out.
it worth
for
it?
the rest of your life?
Kicked out.
Right.
I think back to as this was happening, the immediate thought that I had was, I think everybody gravitates towards, there was that video a few years ago of somebody getting thrown out in Camden.
Yeah.
And Dave was
right.
demonstrative on stage and getting him kicked out. But actually where my mind went to was SPAC a few years ago. It was SPAC Night 2 2023. And in somewhat typical-ish SPAC fashion, Dave came out for E1 and started to perform 40. And the version was cut short because of whatever was going on. And I don't think that was an actual fight, but people were being very disruptive and it kind of threw off everything that was happening. And I just, Matt said, of all songs for this to happen during Pig, I was feeling that same way at SPAC a few years ago. Of all songs, the whole night, just be quiet during 40. But that's neither.
Why are you like, it's so selfish. Like, why are you ruining it for everybody else? For a bro fight.
Mean, I saw the picture of the guy. He was holding like stacks of cups, so he's been drinking obviously all day.
Well,
I've never seen him before. He didn't look like a fan. One of our friends, Brenny, did say when I asked him like, what was the worst part of Big Sky? He said, well, the music started at like 4:30, so it was a very long time there. So that obviously allowed people to drink longer by the time Dave got on. So, but anyway, he went right back into Pig, and I think he started with the second verse like a pro, and just on he went. And probably, I don't know, 1 song, 2 songs in, everybody forgot that even happened. Any comments on this show?
Yeah, so this one, there is some really, really big moments. I think you kind of get into the middle of the show, and we have a few songs with that super nostalgic DMB sound that so many people long for since the departure of a violin in this band. In this particular case, we're talking about Lie in Our Graves with a violin. We're talking about Warehouse with a violin. And I think as we've had these little violin performances pop up over the course of the last few years, I really love the creativity with how they're being used. I think there's obvious violin songs. Ants is probably the most obvious, the one that comes to people's minds first. We talked about it early in the year, how incredible it was to have a violin back for Pig when that happened at Homedale. Here again, a song like Warehouse, maybe not necessarily the first thing that would jump out to me as something that I was really craving to hear a violin on, but my God, does it sound good when it happens.
Yeah, as your resident Lie in Our Graves expert, I feel like hearing a violin on Lie in Our Graves again would send me to another planet, because that section that we don't get anymore is just so it's so perfect. And I think Lie in Our Graves, like, give me the violin back on Lie in Our Graves any day of the week.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. And that was Jake Rennick Simpson. And it's so funny. Every time a violin comes out, they're like, get him a bus. Get him a bus.
Sign him up.
Sign him up. Get him on tour.
Right.
Let's go.
He can drop everything. He's not doing
Drop it
anything.
all.
And then we have what I thought was just a really, really fun conclusion to night 2, conclusion to this weekend out in Big Sky. Really awesome ending run here. Spoon, Crash Into Me, Grace, Dodo, The Maker, Cortez.
Also, Angel from Montgomery. You skipped
Angel from Montgomery. Yeah, with Molly.
Right.
With
like,
Molly.
Into Spoon.
What
that must have been magical.
I thought just a fantastic way to wrap up these 2 nights. Such a late in the set appearance for Spoon, such a late in the set appearance for Dodo. I thought The Maker was such a beautiful selection in the setting that was Big Sky, Montana. I think that these shows, I started off by saying how special these Dave Solo shows are. And as we kind of recap them, it almost felt like a big chunk of these were kind of almost more in the Dave and Friends vein than just a strict Dave Solo performance. And I think that these were just 2 really, really special nights. Ones that I will probably in one form or facet go back and listen to for quite some time.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Matt and I were at GD60 while these shows were going on, and there was definitely set list watching every once in a while and just not paying. We're just going to put that back in our pocket because I don't.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, I mean, yeah, a lot of this was like full band. Dodo was with a band. It was not solo.
Right.
I mean,
I was actually going to ask you guys a question. Do you think that we will ever see a DMB Dodo?
I was just going to say, why can't they just learn it? Like, just
I don't
learn
know. Like they learned So Damn
it.
Lucky. They learned Stay or Leave.
Right.
Like
It's just
why?
one of those songs
Yeah.
that has not made its way over. And I remember probably like 10 years ago there was a big push for it to happen, and I think we got like one, like there were teases at several shows.
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 set shows, and then we got like, I think like a partial, like one verse or something like that, but it was never
right.
actually everybody. It was, I think, mostly just Dave Solo. But I think everyone would lose their mind if it happened.
There's no reason it can't happen.
Right.
Fun fact, really quickly, if you are a Dodo aficionado, Matt's totally right. So there was that little push for full band Dodo, but the partial version, the longest not complete version, I don't know the best way to explain that. It actually came in London in 2015, and it was released on a warehouse disc. So if you can get your hands on Warehouse 10 Volume 14, that little 1 minute Dodo, it's pretty short. But if you can get your hands on it, it's still a Dave Solo performance, but it took place at a full band show. It's, there's lots of gray area here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so who was doing the pushing to do a full band? Like,
It was like an online.
Yeah, it was like just like a big, yeah.
People
I
had
think it
signs,
was
free
signs,
Dodo.
yeah.
There were shirts.
Yeah.
with
Oh,
free Dodo.
That's
Yeah.
right. The free Dodo shirts. Yes.
Yep. It was a whole thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
is it time to bring it back? It sounds like it's been a decade.
I'm in. Just sign me up.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
it's more than bring it back. It's it's only been performed Dave Solo or Dave and Tim or Dave and Friends ever.
Right.
Yeah, and since that little push, so 10 years ago, there's only been 8 total performances of Dodo. All of them have been of the fully acoustic variety. So Dodo in any capacity is outrageously rare. And in this setting where there's a little bit more of a full sound, it has not existed in that capacity at all. So if you were in Montana and you got to take in the end run of this show that contained the closest thing to a full-ish Dodo, that's pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would say too.
Sorry. We didn't even get it.
We're all clamoring here.
Oh my
over
God.
Dodo.
We didn't even get an alternate format at the Gorge that
Right.
year, right? No, yeah.
Right.
Which I was for sure. This is it. We're getting it. Nope.
I was going to say this is
Wow.
one of the Mexico songs that we've talked about. I mean, if you
It's
go back
become
and
that.
look at the performances recently, it's like Mexico or bust or
Right.
Montana.
Right.
Or Montana. Well, by the time people are hearing this, I hope someone around the band hears it in enough time to play at the Gorge.
Yep.
Here's hoping. We want a full band dodo. But yeah, what
Get
an
to
awesome
learning. Get to learning.
get to
Gorge.
learning. Awesome 2 shows. I thought Dave, I don't know, I was like, what a king that man is, you know, just like, are these what the festivals are going to be like? I sign me up. This is awesome. So then Big Sky wraps up, and we had to wait 20 full days, I think, until the band came back in California. And their first show back was at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California on August 22nd. And how long has it been since they were there, Sean?
It has been a very long time since the band has made a performance in Inglewood. You've got to go all the way back to maybe the most talked about DMB tour of all time, the fall/winter tour of 1998.
98. Yep. 27
Wow.
years.
They were like, it's been 27 years. Let's open this show with you and me. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's get them pumped.
Yeah.
But wasn't
Shades
it
of
also like
1998.
a kind of like a Madman's Eyes sort of fake Into You and Me, which is so
There was
odd.
this, there's this interesting, unique little thing that Buddy does to not normally what, if you listen to it and you don't know that You and Me's coming, I don't think you would have guessed that You and Me was coming.
Right. Right.
I don't know. I know the Almanac didn't list it as anything other than a straight up You and Me opener,
Right.
which it was.
It does say Buddy solo intro, but
yes, right. There is that note.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just we're hanging on to every little single note and Buddy was just kind of, getting himself warmed up. But a You and Me opener. I don't, who had that one predicted?
I'm sure
Nobody
very
has
few
that.
people on the set list game, if any, had that.
Well, if it's never happened, then no one guessed
Never
it.
happened.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, listening to this was a Friday night concert series, so we were all listening live, and I was like, okay, but then they came in with So Right, and I was like, oh, this is where the show starts. Okay,
Yeah.
this is here we go. Maybe people were like, going to get beers or something. And
It's that LA crowd, they're
slower. Yeah.
late arriving. They're just
Right.
bebopping around, and they're like, "Oh, they're already playing." Okay, and then they get to their seats, and then the show really starts.
Yeah.
Listen, and if you're a You and Me lover, like all power to you. Like it's a beautiful song.
A You and Me lover. I just
A You and Me
love
lover.
that. If you're a You and Me lover,
Yeah.
for all you and Me lovers out there,
we
Bruce one's
talk
for
all the
you.
time. We talk all the time about where songs are placed in a set, though, and I was kind of like,
Right.
I actually didn't mind this early. Like,
Okay.
it's different if you're like on a run in the middle of a show and then you get a You and Me and you're kind of like let down. It's kind of like you can't be let down yet because the show didn't
Right.
start. So I kind of liked it. I was like, this is nice. But you're right. Then it goes into So Right and Recently, and you're like, yeah, that
Here we
really.
go.
That
Yeah.
was,
So Right and Recently, and we get our very first Pretty Girl outro of
Yes.
2025. First time that has popped up this year. So that was a nice little nugget there at the back end of Recently.
and then caca.
So there it is, right on cue.
Inglewood Raven.
A West Coast Raven sighting, the
Oh
third,
my
the third, right? The third of the,
The
year.
third.
The third of the year. Yeah, Raven.
Very-
It's officially a thing, right? I
Time
think
Raven.
we had talked about prior to a little while ago, it had been one Raven per year, and then they snuck in a second Raven.
We thought it was a
I think
fluke.
A lot of people were wondering, was this a mistake? Was this deliberate? And here we are. We got our third Raven of the year. What a great song to have back in any sort of. I know that this isn't regular rotation, but any and all Ravens, please. Raven.
Any and all.
2025 modern day DMB Ravens sounds so good.
It does.
So
It
good.
really
What
does.
Buddy brings to this song. Sometimes I think people are quick to point out songs that haven't aged as well. Well, Raven has aged beautifully.
Yes.
I love modern day Ravens.
Can I share a little something about Raven real quick
Please.
before we
Sure
go?
can.
So this is something that we had talked about in Guilford, and now that we have more than one raven, now that we have more than two ravens, do you guys know or remember when we had this conversation about what a group of ravens is
Oh,
called?
shit. I don't
No,
remember.
I don't remember.
Wait, hold on. A gaggle?
No.
No. Okay.
No. A group of ravens is called an unkindness of ravens.
Oh.
Kindness.
So now we
Yes.
officially have an unkindness of ravens. And
I don't know
just
if I
wanted to
like
point out.
that. Poor Raven. Now I'm trying to think, why don't I remember that conversation?
I know.
Sorry to bring things down, but an unkindness of ravens is what we know.
Well, I will be kind to this band if they play Raven all the time. So
There you go.
we're here. But yeah, speaking of aging well, I think the whole Busted Stuff album aged very well. If we're
Very
really
true.
giving hot takes, that whole album plays beautifully in 2025. Yeah, but this was another fun show. I mean, I guess another highlight, that Line in the Hands of God with no ABI.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
No?
Corey Henry came out with the band to guest on Lying in the Hands of God, as well as Tripping Billies.
Yep.
Yeah,
Corey Henry
really
is the-
loved. I love that extra dynamic
Agreed.
on Lying in the Hands of God. I think sometimes multiple keyboards could kind of go different directions. That this one felt like it was pretty dialed in.
Can I also say something really funny? So I woke up and I saw this before I re-listened to the show. I saw that Corey Henry had guested, and I pulled those tracks up initially. I'm like, wait, where's Corey Henry? Because Corey Henry is a New Orleans trombone player who has guested with DMB before, but he has a slightly his name is spelled slightly differently.
Right.
Oh.
And so I was like, where is he? Where
With
is
an
he?
E.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was a funny moment.
This Corey Henry is a keyboardist, and he used to play with Snarky Puppy, and he's since then, I think in 2018, has gone on solo, and I've actually seen him live, and he's actually a really great, incredible performer. But so that was exciting that he came out. He's originally from here, from Brooklyn, but he lives in LA now, so that's why they brought him out. But I loved that like dual keyboard thing they had going on. I think it sounded great.
Yeah, it definitely did. So this was a great show. Then you would get the So Much. Anyone seen the bridge? Full Too Much. You always think that Too Much is head into a Word Up all the time, but nope, we ended
Up.
nicely with a.
We actually got surprised that it was a full. We got
Right.
faked out, but it was actually Too Much for real.
Full. Yeah, for real. And Take All Days surfacing again, which is great.
Yeah.
Hope it continues to do.
We're still trying to figure out how old it is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea.
I was excited
Nobody
to
knows.
hear it on Friday Night Concerteers because I don't think we have yet. I feel like it's only been at night 2s.
Oh, good call.
So I was excited to actually hear it in my headphones, So yeah. And he also did, again, bring up that it's old, but he brought it out of the vault and then finished writing it. So now I'm like, oh, this is like he just keeps giving us more pieces to the puzzle. So one day we'll know.
Keep
Put it
them
on the
coming,
question
Dave. We want to
list.
know more and more. Just
Yeah, keep giving us
gradually
a
though. Don't give it to us all at once.
Never tell it to us straight.
Each night at the Gorge, just tell us a little bit more about it.
Oh my gosh. We'll definitely hope to hear that at the Gorge, I am sure. So then LA wraps up and we head to Shoreline, which is outside of San Francisco. And we had a guest show up for this show too. In the acoustic guitar.
I was like,
Oh.
There.
ooh.
I think this is the biggest DMB
This
news
is
that
huge.
nobody is talking about. We've
How
all
is
just
this
been
not
the biggest
going
story?
back and forth and back
I
and forth.
mean,
We can't find any footage. We don't know anything about it. We know it happened,
Right.
and
We've been talking about it since, and nobody's talking
oh
about
my
it.
god, it's like it's driving us all bananas. It's like
But before that happened, before we got the guest of the acoustic
Yes.
guitar, of course, we get a You Never Know Bartender Joyride Nancy's opener.
Thank you.
Fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Oh,
Thank
So
thank you.
damn strong. My God.
whew. It's like, you never know bartender. I'm like, keep playing Busted Stuff. Just keep going. Just keep
Right.
going.
But I'll take a
Forget about it.
joyride in the middle of that. It's fine.
For
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Fine.
But even
Yeah.
then, following up a Monster Spaceman, fun.
Love Spaceman. Here for
Mhm.
Spaceman.
Yeah. And then Jeanette gets a sandwich during Jimmy thing,
Mhm.
decides to do a couple of other things during Hunger for the Great Light.
Ew.
And then we
Has
get
some more
the-
errands to run.
yeah. Then we get Tim on the acoustic for Proudest, Satellite, and Black and Bluebird.
Right.
Yeah, this was a textbook what is happening moment. We saw Craig actually came out and brought Tim his acoustic guitar, and it was it was very much one of those moments where I just did not know for a second what is happening, what's going on here. Of course, what was going on was essentially the first time that we've had Dave and Tim playing both acoustic guitars since
With the full
the
band.
2-set days.
Right.
Right, you've got to go
Mm.
all the way back to say 2015 when DMB, when the tour or the show structure was 2 sets, the acoustic set followed by the full band electric set. So
But like but that was the acoustic set, right? This is like full.
Yeah, it
This is
doesn't-
like
Right.
main
Yeah.
set. It's still.
It's very
so
different.
First ever.
Very
First
different.
ever.
First ever.
Yeah. It was beautiful. And I will say
Mhm.
before we go into this too deeply, I just hope in some capacity that we get any or all of these released somehow, some way. I think because of the fact that the beauty really lies in how soft and gentle everything is with the second acoustic guitar,
Mhm.
sometimes
Mhm.
that's really hard to translate on an
Mhm.
iPhone video, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope that we get this in some form or fashion, because some of the little tiny fills that Tim was adding were so gorgeous, and
yeah.
I think it was very deliberate that it was taking place during this run. Proudest Monkey, Satellite, I think those two make a lot of sense. Black and Bluebird, maybe not necessarily something that I thought I would love so much. But I've got to say, it really caught me off guard with how much I enjoyed what
Mhm.
an acoustic, 2 acoustic guitars on Black and Bluebird, what 2 acoustic guitars on Black and Bluebird did. It really changed the dynamic of the song, especially on the back end, especially what Tim was doing in the outro. This was a really fun run, and kind of the textbook definition of why you can't judge a book by its cover. If you see those 3 songs consecutively just on a piece of paper,
Right.
this wasn't quite that.
I think it's notable, and when you look at this, the page in the almanac about this, that this venue, Shoreline, in California, used to host Neil Young's annual Bridge School benefit, which DMB played often, and I think Dave and Tim played as well.
Mhm.
Featured acoustic sets from all artists, and it's curious, is this a one-off? Was this just a tribute because they were at this venue
Right.
to the Bridge School benefits that they were always such a huge part of, or is this going to be something that we see moving forward? I hope that it's something that we continue to see, because having those quieter fills that are reminiscent of album versions of some of these songs is a pretty incredible thing. You know, when Tim first joined the band, I think a lot of us were thinking that, you know, his guitar was dialed up a little bit too high. You know, let's find sort of a happy medium where Tim can live. And I think we got there, certainly. But this is
Mhm.
still a very different feel to it across the board when you have an acoustic instrument like that on stage, and you're getting more of these fills that, you know, Tim's doing with Dave and Tim. And it's just awesome. I mean, it's just one of those things. So much of what DMB does can be so textbook. And this is so outside the box that it's amazing. Like Sean was saying earlier, this was like a what the hell is going on right now on stage moment. And you don't get a lot of those with DMB. And so this is this is really cool. And like I said, I really hope that even if it's just for the Gorge, that, you know, it is not a one and done.
Totally agree. I remember we were texting throughout the show, as we normally do, and I think I might have turned it off because it was Hunger, and I was like, I'll go back in a minute. And I'm pretty sure Sean was like, Tim's got an acoustic.
And you're like, what?
And I was like, get back on, get back on, get back on.
I wonder what inspired that. I mean, there was we could think of a bunch of conspiracies, but like, is the acoustic not as heavy? Was Tim feeling okay? Like he had sit down a little bit. Like, I don't know.
Was
Is it
there
something
something
like that?
wrong with his electric guitar? Like what? Yeah,
Yeah.
like what?
Right.
Yeah.
What
What
prompted
caused it?
it? And
Yeah.
can it stay, please and thank you.
And can it stay? Just to be clear, we want it to stay.
Please, can it stay?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one thing I will note is as much as anyone, I really hope that this stays around. I hope that whether it be through the Gorge or beyond, I hope that how great would it be if you can go to a show and you kind of get the full spectrum of Tim, right? You get an acoustic Tim, you get electric Tim, because I will say there are some songs that I really do love, the fills and Tim putting his own spin on things,
Absolutely,
with his electric guitars. But this had me really fired up.
I mean,
I can't lie.
Satellite
This had me
alone.
really fired up.
Yeah, hearing
Yeah,
Satellite the way it's recorded.
right.
is
When are we excited to hear Satellite? Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who would have
Right.
thought that we would be saying, "Hey, what was the highlight of the beginning of the West Coast run? Satellite."
Go check out that.
Satellite. Go check out that Satellite. Then we get a word up into Dreaming Tree. You know, that combo is great.
Classic.
No, but really.
Well, anytime Dreaming Tree is played.
Vintage
Vintage.
DMB. Word up into Dreaming Tree.
Beautiful Dreaming Tree. And the rest of the show, again, a fun one.
And the pig closer. The pig closer is
Pig
great.
closer, right. Yeah.
Pig closer. We did get one more Tim acoustic appearance.
Right.
His acoustic guitar came back out for Crash. So we get our fourth and final acoustic Tim performance of the night. Also, it has been quite a while. If we fast forward to the encore here, it's been quite a while since we have gotten an acoustic solo Dave Peace on Earth, which was kind of the staple early in the calendar year, early in this tour. It was the only way that we saw this song performed. And then when we finally got a full band version, I believe that was back during the Cincinnati show, then it kind of lived in that full band setting. So here we kind of turn the clocks back a little bit and we have a Dave solo performance of it.
Yeah, it sounded good too. Well,
I like the switching up of things.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
agreed.
So, two things that we didn't talk about with both of these California shows. I would say in LA, Dave gives a speech every show, but Bethel had a pretty amazing speech. And I would say that LA had another really, like, there are times where Dave is like, has a speech, and there's times when he like means business. And like in LA, it felt so strong. And if you didn't hear his speech, it's posted all over the internet. It was a good one. It was a powerful one. I've never heard a crowd that loud. Of course, it's California, so they're probably all like-minded, and it was just it sounded like they tore the roof off with that speech. And then I think the special thing about San Francisco is they got the most beautiful Chuck Sperry poster out of all of the Sperrys.
Wow, what a transition. Very in the lead, Krista.
But that should lead us into a fan favorite, Matt's Merch Minute. What do you got for us from the merch from these August shows?
Well, that was going to be the second thing I talked about, and I'm going to jump over to the Montana shows first, because we got some really great posters. A studio called Twin Home, which is a gentleman by the name of Max Mon, who runs Twin Home, is an artist from Montana. And if you go and check out the posters from that night, they actually match, which I always love if you're going to a 2-night stand or a 3-night stand. When you have posters that match each other, I think it's really, really cool. So this is kind of a really unique scene. There's some light tower kind of things, and you've got all different kinds of animals that are surrounding. And one is a daytime scene and one is a nighttime scene. I mean, you go buy both these posters, they're going to look dynamite hung up next to each other. And I'm sure you get really creative with the framing and stuff. And they looked really cool. We also got a pretty cool poster. One of my favorite artists, DKNG, did the poster for the first California show, which was an alien abduction of sorts, and
Yeah.
this is their first poster of the year. They've done a bunch in the past. They actually did one of my favorite Guilfords from a long time ago. It was of a boat dock. And they did Mansfield last year. They did one of the tour posters from last year, which was pretty cool. This was their first jump in of 2025, but I loved it. I thought it was really cool. It came in a couple of different colors and foils and all that good stuff. So that was cool. But yes, let us now talk about Chuck Sperry and his offering for Shoreline. For those of you who don't know, we've talked about Chuck Sperry a little bit on here before. And this is really, I think, one of the only times throughout the year where you have an artist who is collected by not just the fan base of the band that he's creating the poster for, but is collected by art collectors. And I think the only other person you can really put into that category might be James Eads. Where you have a lot of people from outside the community who are also clamoring for the poster. But Chuck Sperry does these unbelievable art pieces of women, and they are this is our sixth Chuck Sperry for DMB. Chuck Sperry also does other art in other capacities, but this is our sixth one from DMB, and boy, was this a stunner. This is a beautiful, beautiful poster. And just to prove the fact that this is sort of a different ilk, these posters at the merchandise stand face value cost $100 for the regular version of the poster and $200 for the foil. We've already seen secondary sales of the foil posters go for over $1,000, which is unbelievable for a DMB poster that's this new. You sometimes have those old grails that people are looking for and that are very hard to find, and those might go for that kind of dollar figure. But to have a poster that was just released go for that money is wild. And just having that price tag essentially go up, whatever that is, 30% over your normal everyday DMB concert poster. We heard from a friend of ours that as the band was taking the stage, there was still a stack of posters still waiting to be purchased, which is just unbelievable. If this had been a venue like the Gorge or like SPAC or something like that, they would have been gone 2 hours before the band took the stage, as soon as the gates opened, basically. So this was interesting, kind of out of nowhere, and certainly got everybody talking and buzzing. We were ranking our favorite Sperrys as a group, and this one seemed to rank pretty high up there.
She's my favorite. She was a beauty.
It feels like it's really once or twice a year, if that the poster gets announced several hours before the show, and the internet just goes ablaze with
I'm looking up flights on how fast can I get to San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's what we have here.
I don't even want to go to the show. I just want a poster.
But yeah, it's really interesting that you have this $100 price tag for a poster. I mean, for a lot of people, that is a lot of money. You're talking about at that point, if you had purchased, I don't even know if there's lawn at Shoreline, but if there's lawn at Shoreline,
there is,
you're paying more money for this poster than you did for your ticket.
Right.
And so that is that's a proposition to be weighed, and probably the reason that there were as many left as there were. I don't know what the scene was afterwards. I don't know if they sold out, but pretty wild that that was the case here.
And we had, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but we had multiple foils, right? Multiple
Yes, I believe there were
foils.
2 different foil patterns and colors, I believe. I'm not sure which one sold for over a K, but that is where we're at this point. So if you were searching for one of those, I believe Chuck Sperry still has not done his official on sale yet. So be on the lookout for that. And that's going to be your best bet because otherwise you're going to have to shell out a pretty penny for this one.
She's worth it. We're having this is what happens behind the scenes, the pods debate
Sperry girls.
Sperry girls.
Sometimes for days on end.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
By
has
the
been
way,
days.
did I mention?
Well, we had Big Sky, we had California, and now the Gorge is upon us, and it is time to talk about it in our jam session. Okay, the Gorge, it's upon us. DMB's biggest weekend of the year is about to take place. It already feels like it's going to be pretty historic. We have opening acts all 3 nights, and I think we're all thrilled. Some of us are more excited for Goose more than others. And I think some of us on here collectively, I think we're all excited for the Flecktones.
Yes.
And Bella. And I'm just going to go ahead and give a quick plug on Goose before we dive in, because honestly, my head's going to explode just thinking about it. We got a taste at Soulshine, and it was incredible. And so who knows what's going to happen. Maybe there won't be any collabs, but if there are some collabs, I would imagine they're going to be incredible. So just a little bit about Goose. They just released their 2nd studio album this year called Chain Your Dragon. And boy, oh boy, it is a good album. If you are going to the Gorge, I would suggest putting on that album before you go, just to get a taste. And another way to prep for night 3 is WTED, which is Goose Radio. It's a free app if you download it. WTED put together an awesome program highlighting the intersections between DMB and Goose, and the synergies that the bands have. There's actually a lot of synergy between DMB and Goose. It's a must listen, and it's actually going to air Friday the 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific, and again on the 31st before Goose takes the stage at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So go ahead and download the WTED app, tune in, get yourself prepped. This is what I'm mostly exciting for. What it got me to the Gorge again. How about all of you? What are you excited about? You're all smiling.
Well, Trisha, before you continue, what is the name of that program? I don't think you mentioned the name of the program, and I know that it is pretty creative.
Under the Table and Honking. It's cool because the people that put it together, and actually, there are people in the Goose community that are really into the Goose community, but they started off as DMB fans. And so it was cool hearing the commentary around certain songs on that program. So I definitely think it's a must listen.
This Gorge lineup is insane. It is insane. It really is. I don't think that a band exists with more significance in the entire universe than Bella Fleck and the Flecktones in terms of what they mean to the Dave Matthews Band. And you throw on Goose on top of that. You throw on some of these other acts that we've had some cool Luis Cato moments in the past at Madison Square Garden. There is so much happening surrounding the actual DMB shows that it's really interesting that in the weeks and days leading up to Gorge 2025, it seems like that is getting every bit as much a conversation online as the actual DMB shows are, which, is kind of crazy because it's the only 3-night stand, of course, of the entire year for the Dave Matthews Band. So really, really excited for the possibilities of the weekend. It would be challenging to put together a more impressive collective group of artists to surround the Gorge weekend.
Yeah, Bella Fleck and the Flecktones were supposed to play in 2020 at the Gorge.
That's right.
And obviously we all know what happened in 2020. And when they came back, they weren't announced on the bill, and it was very disappointing. And so when this was announced, it was definitely I'm definitely going. Like if there was a chance I wasn't going, that is actually what made my decision for me, because I was so disappointed that it didn't happen in 2020. So here we are 5 years later. Give me that Bella online or Graves.
Yeah, and I think I've heard a couple people, and I'll just throw this out there. I've heard a couple people talk about the fact that Bella has guested a number of times in the last few years, but this has the potential to be very different because this is the entire Flecktones band. That's what makes this so unique. And I think if you pause and you look backwards into the history of DMB, this is not exaggerating. Some of the legitimate biggest moments most recognizable moments, the moments people clamor for in the last 30 plus years of this band, so many of them include the Flecktones, include the years in which the Flecktones were touring and opening for DMB. They include some of the most legendary performances, whether you're talking about the 420-02-41, for example, which is, the holy grail of 41s for most people. The Flecktones just have such Live Track 7. I mean, several Live Tracks appearances.
Right.
7 probably being, you're right, Jeanette, maybe the most famous and well-received one, the New Year's Eve show. It's the history of the Flecktones with DMB. It cannot be overstated. And the possibilities are endless. It's so exciting to have those two back within the same breath.
Sean, do we know the last time the Flecktones opened for DMB? Is it 1998 or what has it been? Have they since then?
Yeah, so they did open. They opened quite a bit in the 1998 calendar year, and then they also opened back during the 2000 summer tour. So there were a number of Flecktones.
Still so long, 25 years ago.
Still 25 years ago. Now, after that, basically everything that has happened has been some sort of random one-off, random occurrence type thing.
Sure.
1998 and 2000 were the 2 years that the Flecktones were on tour with DMB. They were opening. They were doing an awful lot of guest appearances during the DMB shows. And it's probably not a coincidence that, depending upon who you ask, 1998 and 2000 are widely considered to be two of the most elite years in the history of this band. Very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking again, and I do think they were at one of the caravans. Oh no, not caravans. In 2005, I believe they were at Randall's Island with DMB. But again, 2005. That's still 20 years ago.
And those, I believe those 02 shows, Sean. I think there were a couple of one-off openings, like 420-02 in Ottawa.
Right.
I believe that they opened that show, and there was one other. I think
it
like
was
the night before.
It was actually only Ottawa. It was back-to-back nights in Ottawa.
Oh, okay.
So the Flecktones were out. 420-02 is the super famous one that everyone references, rightfully so. But then they also played the Sunday show, which was 421-02.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is like I obviously have FOMO for the whole weekend because I'm not going, but the most FOMO I have, if it happens, is a full Flecktones 41, because for the longest time now, we've talked about it on here, how number 41 has changed so much, and it is nothing like what it used to be. And I'm actually kind of sad that this is occurring at the end of the tour, because maybe it would strike up something in DMB to make a change. And will they remember that after this weekend? Who knows? But that's really what I'm hoping for. Sojourn of Arjuna, interpolations all over the place, Victor Wooten, everybody out there on
Future
stage.
Man,
I mean, that's it for me.
So back to Goose for a second.
I mean, but that's a great point, because if in any other circumstance, I feel like that would be the thing, right? And it is the thing for a lot of people. And I could not be more excited to see Goose at the Gorge, their first Gorge appearance, and the possibilities of any sit-ins. But it does go to show what this Gorge lineup is collectively.
Hearing all of you talk about the Flecktones, I have a question. So, one, you're freaking me out because I'm thinking I really want to see a collab where Rick comes out with DMB, but I'm thinking maybe the Flecktones will be prioritized, like, for a bunch of songs. I could see that.
It wouldn't be the same night, though.
Nights.
So you're totally still fine.
Yeah, but they might still be Roman.
Why not have both?
They would.
Why not have both?
I don't think you have to worry about that.
Okay. Well, then the other thing I'm wondering, well, this is really what I was worried about, because I would love to see Rick slay 41, but maybe that's already going to get played night 2 with the Flecktones potentially. Okay. So I think it's a huge miss if the band doesn't bring out Rick to play. And I'm wondering on your end, if you think it's a huge miss if just Bella comes out to guest with.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yes.
I
Just
think
making it
both of
known.
those things are a huge miss. 100%.
It's such a crazy,
Yeah.
crazy thing for it to be so factual, because in any other instance, if Bella came out, it immediately steals the show. Right. Any other time where Bella just kind of wanders out, it is the highlight of the night, of the weekend. It's one of the most talked about things of the tour.
Yep.
But I agree. I mean, the possibilities with the entire Flecktones band, there's nothing quite like it. There just isn't.
Okay.
I mean, don't you feel? I think it's going to be so interesting, Trisha. I know you're so fired up about Sunday, but in both cases, and I know that there's obviously a huge Goose contingent who's going to be at the Gorge, but in both cases, I feel like it's going to be very similar to Soulshine both nights, where you're like, okay, yeah, you can play that song, but like, what are you going to do next? It's like they finish up like whatever they're playing, like Raven, and you're like, okay, great, Raven. All right, let's see what's next. Is there a guest? What are we doing here? I just think it's going to be so interesting to see what I'm sure that there's going to be some, I don't know if it's nerves, emotion, just waiting to pop, for that moment to happen. Because I think with the Flecktones, you have, I think that as we were saying, like 2000 whatever was the last time that you could see DMB and the Flecktones all on the same stage.
Yep.
And for anybody, that is an old school. That's like 20 plus years ago. And so you would not have been able to have had that experience. And so there's definitely going to be all those old fans who are like, yes, this is everything.
Mhm.
And then, you've also got this, Goose who's like just exploding, and it is such a new band, and it's a newer, it could
Yep.
potentially be a newer fan who, is into DMB and also likes Goose. And like, it's just going to be so interesting to see what the energy is like in the place because of those two things and the anticipation for collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a very real, or at least maybe we can just file this under the hopeful category, a very distinct possibility of maybe having members of DMB coming out earlier prior to the DMB set to sit in with some of these acts as well.
Mhm.
Obviously, Jeff has a very, very long and storied history with the Flecktones. That was Jeff's introduction to DMB, if you're unfamiliar. Right. So it was those years of the Flecktones being on tour with DMB that Jeff played alongside of Leroy so many times and for so many legendary performances. And then on the other side of that coin, on the more modern side of it, is when Goose takes the stage. They are a band that they don't tour with a horn section, but they are a band that over the course of their last couple records have featured some predominant horn sections. As a matter of fact, a little bit earlier this year, they played their most significant show to date, a sold out Madison Square Garden. And the highlight for a lot of people from that night was this horn section that they brought with them from their studio recordings. And they kind of were out there for a number of songs over the course of the night. So I think that the natural tendency is to think, how is DMB going to incorporate some of these acts? But I also think there's a very real possibility of it working the other way around, where some of the members of DMB are getting involved earlier in the evening. So if you're at the Gorge, you should be doing this anyway, because the Gorge provides what almost no other venue does, which is lots and lots of music. But get in early. You're not going to regret it. Get in early.
Right. I mean, it really sounds like Jeff has a lot of work to do. We want Jeff out with the Flecktones. Jeff bringing horn to Goose. Like, poor Jeff. Jeff, just pretend it's New Orleans when you play every hour of every day in New Orleans. If you wouldn't mind doing that in the Gorge.
We love New Orleans, Jeff. He's the best. Bring
New Orleans Jeff to the Gorge. Well, it's going to be a historic weekend, and it's also a historic weekend for our concert queen, Jeanette, who on night one celebrates her 300th show. Just give it a round of applause for that.
Aww,
that is some love.
Amazing.
That is some dedication. And, the band's lucky to have you.
Oh,
you know?
thank you.
Yeah, just around for 300 shows and now a podcast where you talk about them. Our friend Jordan, who is DMB New Mexico fans on Instagram, posted a question we thought was really interesting. And that is, if you could go back and attend any show, what show are you going to? And since Jeanette has been to 300, I thought, what a great question to ask. Why don't we
Since
start
I've been
with
to
you?
all of them, I was. Well, it was funny because when that question was posed, I was like, all the ones I would say I think I was actually at. So I am gonna say June 11th, 2001, Two Step in the Rain.
Of course. I was actually going to say, can
I
you put that
would,
aside in its own category and pick another?
yeah. Oh,
No,
And,
go
like-
ahead. Talk about Giant Stadium. I just knew you were going to say that answer.
did you? Because I wasn't sure if people thought I
Absolutely.
would say James Brown, but I Two Step in the Rain was one of the most incredible feelings I've ever had in my life. I still remember what it felt like. I still remember like how hard the rain hurt my face. I was like up in the like way tops, like the 300s, like really up in nosebleeds. And the rain was coming down so hard it hurt my face. There were people that were scared and ran for cover because there was lightning, and people on the floor were on a metal floor, so they were like, we're out of here. I did not. I embraced the whole thing. I was drenched to the core, and I will never forget that moment ever for as long as I live. It's like up there with like, you know, having children. Getting married. It's like literally up there.
Do you know what number show that was?
No,
Like
it was
early.
in the earlies. It was probably like in the teens or 20s.
Yeah.
Um,
But a formative
yeah.
show like that is how you get to 300, I think.
Yes.
Like,
that's why
yeah.
you keep following the band, you know?
Right. Because you're like, maybe I will get pelted in the face with rain again during Two Step.
Exactly.
You never know.
Here's a fun fact. Speaking of Jeanette doing attending her 300th show, so Buddy has been in the band since 2018 and has basically played every single DMB show since 2018. And Shoreline was Buddy's 400th DMB show. So Buddy, who has played every single show since 2018, is a mere 100 shows above Jeanette.
Wow.
That's insane.
That is actually insane.
What a stat.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
It was my 11th show, by the way. I just looked it up.
11th.
11th
Okay. So
show.
early
Yeah.
on. Yep.
Very early. And Giant Stadium is, you know, a kind of epic venue. It no longer exists, but back in the day, it was huge to be there for that.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I wasn't even supposed to be there. I had decided to go that afternoon. Some friends from college were like, people I didn't even follow the band with, they just knew that I would go, and I would help them find tickets because I knew what I was doing. So it was like,
Yeah.
do you want to come see DMB? Sure, pick me up. They picked me up. We went. That's why our tickets were way up top. And and it's so funny because I'll never forget those people either. Like, I don't speak to them anymore, but like I will never forget them because we've experienced that moment together. You know?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. What about you guys? Which shows would you do again? Or shows that you weren't at that you would go to?
I could be super quick with this. I would die to have seen them at Red Rocks. But a show
That's what
that
I would have
been,
said too. If
yeah.
it was, if you
Right.
asked me which show I wasn't at, I would have said that.
Yeah. That show.
Red Rocks.
ahead, Matt.
What year?
I don't know. They just celebrated the 30-year anniversary.
95.
95 Red Rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like young, but I would have gone down there. I was a child, but I would have gone
same.
as a child. But of a show I've been to, I would have loved to be, of course, transported to that SPAC lawn in 2001 to hear.
Of course.
Right.
Yep.
That was my Giant Stadium.
Yeah.
That's my Giant Stadium version, you know?
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
The thing that just changes you after.
Uh-huh.
How about
So
the
my
boys?
feeling is that I would love to, and so just so you guys know, you're included in this with me. Like if I could go back and
Oh, we get to
go
go.
see a show, we're all going. The four of us
Okay.
are going, right? So we're all just going to go to a random night at Tracks.
Okay.
Mm.
I'm in.
Back in the
I'm
early
in.
90s,
That'd be
it's going to
so
be pretty
nice.
casual. We're not going to have to worry about places to stand, whatever. We're just going to go in there. Like just imagine being able to see this
Like
band
from the
that
bar.
you love from the bar, but like
Yeah.
also like every week, like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is great. Like I'm just gonna come back next week when they're here again, and
Yeah.
I love that.
and that's really cool. The show that I would go back to, I always go back and I'm like, oh man, I forgot that happened at that show. 4702 in Boston at the Fleet Center. This is the debut of You Never Know. And this is also the epic bartender that ended up on the 25th anniversary record that DMB put out. Probably, up there with the best bartender that was ever played. And one thing I didn't realize until the other day when I was looking into this, it's the only time that I ever got to see Heartbeat, the Heartbeat intro, which came late in the show. So it was that epic bartender space between, and then Heartbeat into PNP Rapunzel
What a
to close the
run.
show. I mean, like this
Mind-blowing.
will just
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing. I would go back to that night for sure.
Good one. Good
Love that.
choice.
I think for me, if I could pick a show to go back to, I am picking 12/31/96 because this was released as Live Track 7, and there isn't a Live Tracks in that entire catalog that I have spent as much time with as Live Track 7. When I first
Same.
got this show, I think it was released back in 2006. I don't know if I took this out of my CD player for weeks. Like I just could not get enough of this show. Coincidentally, based, with the conversation that we had a little bit earlier about the Gorge, to kind of go full circle here, this was actually the first time that the entire Flecktones guested. And this was
Wow.
if you're not familiar with this show, it took place on New Year's Eve at the Hampton Coliseum, and was very different than what DMB shows are now. There was a set break, for example. They took a set break at midnight. They counted down to the New Year's, into the new year. They took the stage and performed Billy's to kick off the new calendar year, and then played an unreal second set, the entire set just about, with the full Flecktones band. I mean, there's the list of shows that I wish I could go back to is very long, but this is very much near the top for me.
Mm-hmm.
How many jokes rolled around in your head when you said 96? Like, were you walking it? Were you still in the womb? Like,
Yeah.
Were you alive?
Were you
Yeah,
even
were you
alive?
alive?
Were you born yet?
Oh,
Can we go back
well,
there with you too?
Yeah.
I assume
We're
we're
all
all
going
going
back.
to
Yeah, we're all
going.
going everything.
Okay.
We're all
We're all
going
going
everything.
everything.
I assume we were all.
I can't wait for this time machine invention.
Yes.
Make the time machine. Let us all go back. Well, we can't wait to celebrate you on Friday, Jeanette. 300's a big deal. We'll never catch that.
That's not true.
And I don't know.
That is not true.
Maybe
The
his
pace you're
band
at right now,
tours.
Trisha. Do not make statements like that.
I mean, I guess if you're not saying full band and it's Dave forever, I guess, but I just meant year.
They count. They count.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
day forever.
But anyway, well, this has been awesome. It's been a while since we recorded. My gosh. And we're going to have a lot to say about the Gorge. One thing that we do want you to tune into on Instagram, we're going to, at least with our best intentions, we're going to go live from Instagram around noon Pacific time. I'll confirm the time on it. We'll confirm on Instagram, but we're going to go live every day just to chit chat about the shows, and kind of bring you with us if you can't go. So be sure to tune in on Instagram, Pod That Jane Likes on Instagram. And if you're there and you see us, we have Pod That Jane Likes Gorge stickers. So be sure to say
Swag.
hi.
Great Easter eggs. Great Easter
Yeah.
eggs in there.
Yeah.
Great Easter egg. So it's a good sticker. If you see us, say hi and we'll give you a sticker. And that's it. Next time we probably meet like this again, we'll be recapping what will be a historic weekend. And I can't wait. Can't wait. But thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on the road.
See you at the Gorge.
Goose. Bye.